Hi, thanks for joining us. This is the Wasatch Taxpayers Association Daniel Town Council Candidate Forum. And the second part of this candidate question and answer will be from the audience. So please feel free to raise your hand. Sir, way in the back. Stand up and
There. I see 3 good candidates up here. Where are the others?
Two could not make it tonight. We did give them all an invitation about a week, 10 days ago, and some just could not make it. But on our website at the WasatchTaxpayersAssociation.com, we will get any information from them that they may want to include, and you'll be able to, we'll give the contact info to talk to them. But there was a conflict.
Yeah, Jeremy Charchenko, I know had a serious family conflict. He could not make it.
Okay, well, I appreciate all you being here, right? And I really like, we moved here 15, 20 years ago, and what we really like is that the difference between Daniel and Heber, right? And I'm hearing, you guys, again, being on the, and Stefanie, being on the, that 5 acre thing, right? That separates us, right, from what the rest of this valley is become. And when I don't see people here, I wonder why they're not here, right? And I hope that it's not the reason I think they're not here, or could maybe not be.
Yeah, and I cannot
but I really
speak
like,
to that.
With Stefanie and Mr. Pearson, you are new at it. Are you feeling comfortable with what we have in this valley here in our little area of Daniel of being 5 acres?
Absolutely.
And
I lived here, and that's why I moved here. And we can model ourselves after Charleston as well. Here's a community just like us that had the choice. In fact, the money was even offered them to put in an elaborate sewer system. They turned it down. So yes, our voice counts. And I'm very much for keeping things the way they are.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment to that? In Charleston, Charleston has moved to 2A. Okay, so they're 2A. They're not 5A anymore.
Not in the whole town.
Well, most of it, yes. Okay, well.
Anyone? Yes? Ma'am?
Thank you. Thank you for being here and for
And
letting...
please speak up.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for asking for our voices. And our family has lived in Daniels for 50 years. And to your point, John, we were lucky enough to neighbor Cal Muir and John Anderson. And I remember the fight that Cal put forward. And I remember the document said, Daniel's water shall be of the same quality, and here's the big one, folks, quality. Now, when you said we are already getting sewer water, I'd like a little more information on that, because to me, that is not the same quality.
And it was, I believe, last August that that's been done. And I know we all voted to not have it, but it's still there. I know.
And that's a very complicated issue, quite honestly. And I know the mayors, will discuss it more with the mayor forum, because some of them might have more information on that. But we'll talk about that again.
I got another comment on that. So apparently, and I may not know this completely, but apparently what I'm hearing is when they take that amount of sewer water and put that in added to our canals, then they take that amount of water and trade it for Jordanelle water, and then they end up selling that. And we don't even see any profit out of it, let alone what we're getting. And we voted not to have it, but there again.
Okay. Stephanie, do you want to say something?
Yeah, but Daniel Irrigation would have more information on that. The town of Daniel does not run the irrigation company, so. Yeah.
Anybody else? Ma'am, please stand up.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
I have a question for Robyn. You have said you want to give the public a voice, and I understand that's important all the time for government, but I'm curious as to how you might implement that, because in my opinion, we've all had opportunity to speak. We never go to the meetings, none of us, ever. So how will you implement that?
Well, there are some hot button issues that confront the community, and then there are some smaller issues that might only affect certain neighborhoods. But I very much am going to be on the ground, basically doing my own due diligence, so that when I come to sit as a town council member, I'm going to be able to present information that I hope will be helpful. In addition, I think it's important to have either a town newsletter or a site other than the town site, which I've talked with many people. I've been in probably 70% of the homes in Daniel, and this issue about getting information and not being the only person at the town council meeting, I think is very, very important. And so I would help sponsor a newsletter or a much more user-friendly way of getting opinions and ideas back to the town council, so that when I, again, go to the meeting, I can say, by and large, the majority of people are seeing this way. And it won't be Robyn's opinion. It'll be the opinions that I've sampled from the members of the community. And I'm going to be out and about. I'm going to be either on my motorcycle or on my horse, and I'm going to be riding the streets. And I'm going to solicit opinions and ideas from all of you. And your opinions will be valuable to me.
Anyone else want to comment on that? John or
No
Stefanie?
matter what, I'd like to see you sitting up there, at least in the audience,
Yes,
telling us and
exactly.
informing us.
Well,
So anytime somebody can inform us what's going on or questions, we're really open and glad to have them.
Excuse me, twice I've come to your meeting and they've said, that's not an issue right now, we're not going to talk about that, and I haven't been able to talk. So I differ with your saying that it's open.
But at the beginning of every meeting, there's a comment period on anything that's not on the agenda for anybody. And that's always at the very beginning of the meeting.
Well, it must have been over with by the time I got there, and I was on
That
time.
could be true, yes.
And I was on
Yes.
time.
Okay, well,
So I differ with your saying that it's an open thing.
Sir?
Yeah, I got two questions for Mr. Pearson. You spend a lot of time working for the Department of Natural Resources. The Central Utah Water Project is part of the Department of Natural Resources.
Please speak up, sir.
You have to speak up, please.
they're totally separate and apart. They don't have anything to do with each other. But go ahead.
Well, they do have to do with our water shares.
No.
Okay? Then answer me this. We received a notice saying we're going to be re-adjudicated, and they're going to come down and decide if we really need all that water, if we're really using all that water, and if we're not, they're going to take our water shares from us. If you're so concerned about water rights, how can they possibly do that to the people who paid for these rights all these years? Our ancestors in the 1800s went to the mountains, worked their butts off. I've been out on those ditches for years and years and years. Talk about Cal Muir and John. Earl Jackson was it for years and years and years. And now the state comes in and says, oh, well, we own the water and you don't need that water right there. So we're going to take it and we're going to put it in the Jordanelle and then we're going to sell it.
Okay, the water is a sticky issue. Very, very sticky. But to Chris's point, first of all, the adjudication of water is a process that occurs in every state. Right now, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Washington are all going through state adjudications. The process is that when somebody gets a water right, again, clarifying that water does not belong to us. The only thing that belongs to us is the right to use water. And so, let's use the Daniels Irrigation Company, for example. The Daniels Irrigation Company goes up, like Chris and said, and his dad, and they worked hard to process the right to obtain water from the state of Utah. And the Daniels Irrigation Company went up and filed a claim and got a priority right that says the irrigation company now has the right to use this amount of water based on the number of acres that are going to be irrigated. And that's all in the state engineer's office. Now, over time, somebody might go out and drill a well in the back of their property. But then the city comes along and says, well, we'll provide culinary water. That well may have sat there for a lot of years, never been pumped, never been used. So the state engineer still has that on his file. And he says, the adjudication says, let's go out and find out who's beneficially using their water. Not hoarding it, but beneficially using it. And everybody that's beneficially using that water can keep it for as long as they possibly can. Nobody's taking anybody's water. But what they are doing is trying to define who has a beneficial use and who has not perfected their use because they haven't used it over many years. And the state engineer will tell Farmer Brown, gosh, you haven't used that well in 2 decades. Yeah, I'm on a culinary water system. And you haven't used it to irrigate. No, I have shares in the Daniel Irrigation Company. Well, let's cap that well. That's what adjudication is all. It's not theft of water. The state engineer is not doing that. And anybody it has that, you received a summons in the mail. All that means is, we're just going to give you the opportunity in the court system to defend your rights. And that's what adjudication is all about, and it is not about the state engineer or the governor or anybody else stealing your water.
Okay, thank you. And John, Stephanie, do you want to say anything about that subject?
No.
Oh, okay.
Robyn's the expert on that.
Do you have a follow-up question? Are you confident in your answer?
So my question is, why are we receiving a summons to defend our rights if they're not going to try and come and take our rights?
Well, your right only exists when you perfect your right. If you're not using your water, then somebody else who's a resident of this town or this city or downstream users have a right to also have the benefit of that water. Hoarding is not a part of the state's plan. And in this state where we have such precious resources, perfecting those rights is the name of the game. And perfecting your water rights is something that all of you will have the opportunity to do. But if you haven't used it for all of these years, remember, maybe I could have 100 shares of irrigation water, but I sold 50 of my acres, my 100 acres, to a developer. I kept all the water. Well, what am I doing with that water? It's based on how you're using it with the land. Water and land go hand in glove.
We're going to need to move. This is a complicated subject. Thank you for your questions, though. And this is an ongoing discussion about water in the next 10, 20 years. So I'm going to move on. Sir?
Yeah, I'm just curious, just the way that...
Please speak up. I can't hear
I'm
you.
just curious how the way Heber Valley's changing. A lot of people are like piping and putting waters in tunnels and changing these natural streams that we've had and then piping it, which is great. I understand that it's more efficient and, you know, it can run these, but I guess my question to you is I'm asking which one you guys want to put things in pipes and rerun it, because honestly it might just, I don't trust the people that are, once it goes in pipe systems, they can run it and sell it to this community, they can sell it to another community. So I'm just curious which one you guys on the board are kind of for piping our water, putting it in a culvert, and then, you know, I understand that's more efficient, but it just wouldn't, on the people up on the board or the people running, I'm just curious on which way you guys would go on that issue.
Are you talking about culinary water or irrigation water?
Both.
Two different things. The culinary water, when I moved up here, there was a moratorium, couldn't even hook onto it because the whole system failed. And Mike Dugan and others put forth a plan to upgrade that whole system, the tank, the pump, all the different valves in there, so if one fails, they just throw a valve and it goes. The pump and everything going to it. Now, The mayor is still on a well, and so am I. But that culinary water, and we've got one of the cheapest rates around, you know, for the water compared to anybody else. And as far as things getting put into it, we put the minimal amount of fed as mandatory levels that we put in. And to give you an idea of how much chlorine that is Provo puts in about 6 times more than what we do. So we have a bottle of chlorine that lasts quite a while.
Let me ask you what his question was, though, is how do you feel in the future about piping and improving the system in the future? That's the question.
Okay, so we're still working on completing lines on the culinary water. And we do have an abundance on the culinary that we didn't have before this whole system was done. And we can sell more water, and so there's more people on it, and that makes it less expensive to use.
So selling to residents? But not that.
Not downstream.
No. Our system is, we're a closed system. Now, your irrigation water, now that's a whole different story. And some of it is in pipe, some of it is in canals. Where it's in pipe, as long as there's not a break somewhere, we're not losing any water. But if it's in the canals and anywhere else, you've got seepage and you've got evaporation going on.
Okay, John, thank you. I'm going to
Okay.
move on. Stephanie?
At this time, I do not want our water to go anywhere. I think that Daniel irrigation is a separate issue. I have said that. You're not in charge of that. I want to keep every drop of water that I own, you know, every share that I own here in Daniel. And as far as our culinary, our Daniel and Storm Haven water systems, there's some improvements that need to be made for the residents in Storm Haven. We need to be looking at tanks and getting grants, keeping that water there. We've drilled a well, and the water has improved greatly. I don't want our water to go anywhere but to the people that in our town.
Yeah, I guess my question is just moving forward, like, if it comes to an issue and we're voting on as a town, like, hey, we're gonna put pipes in the water. Is your stance on wanting to make the water more efficient and putting in pipes? But you don't really, I guess.
I'm on a well, and so, but if people need water and they need culinary water and they get hookups to their homes, then yeah.
And I guess I'm saying more on the
That's what we
stance
do.
of, more on the stance of, it just sounds like you don't have a lot to do with the irrigation, right?
We
That's
have
the water.
nothing,
No,
we have nothing to do with the
no
irrigation.
control over that at
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
Yeah, really quickly, please.
This is what scares me the most, though. We do not have an infinite amount of culinary water. We're all on 5-acre zoning. The more houses get 5 acres, there's not any new irrigation water to be had. And so if I'm wealthy enough, I will take culinary water and irrigate my 5 acres. And if too many people do that, guess what? We really are going to be in a world of hurt. So we have got to be judicious about how we use and take care of that culinary source, because there is no new water coming.
Is that a good enough answer for you? Sir, quickly, please.
My name is Phil Mattingly. I have a question. What percent of the residents of Daniel are on a well versus culinary water? My guess would be looking at a state map of the wells. They know where every well is and how deep it is and who has it. And you can go on a website and see that. I'd say 3/4 of the residents are on a well. Or am I wrong?
I don't think it's that
Does
high.
anybody know?
I would guess about 30%. I don't know, Mayor, you might know.
I think it's about half.
About half, you said.
We've got a water secretary here. How many people do we bill out on,
We have 246 that are on the Daniel water.
246, she said.
How many residents?
How many dwellings do we have in the town?
How many dwellings do we have?
I just know how many's on the water system.
Okay. Okay, quickly, one more question. We're getting short on time. Sir?
Okay, this all revolves around, we've been talking 2A, 5A, a lot of platitudes, how I like everything, specific number. Would you vote for reducing the number of acres necessary for a single home below 5 acres? Are you committed to 5A, or would you vote for 2A? Very specifically, not what now, but what you will do in the future. Would you vote for anything smaller than 5A?
Stephanie?
No.
No.
Okay. Got that? 3 no's. Okay?